The Last Stand of the Deciduous Forest, a children's book by Ruchir, Naheun, and Danny Kim. This is our dedication page. We dedicate this book to the deciduous forest biome to bring light to the critical importance of this ecosystem. One major anthropogenic threat is deforestation, which endangers this biome, rapidly clearing away the essential ecosystems. This forest is important as it provides home to countless of wildlife species, providing food and a place to thrive. In addition, the forest has a key role in maintaining biodiversity, regulating the local climate, and producing oxygen. One instrumental value that our forest provides is the fresh air and water quality, as it filters pollutants, improving both systems. This forest also provides timber as a resource for humans to use in various ways. We urge everyone to protect this biome by avoiding deforestation, replanting trees, and supporting the forest conservation organizations. There are always ways to help preserve our environment. Our story starts with a beautiful summer day, like always. The deciduous forest has a temperate climate, with mild summers and freezing winters. This region also receives 30 to 60 inches of rain a year, ensuring a steady water supply for plant growth. The forest was alive with the sound of rustling leaves. Will, the flying squirrel, zoomed from tree to tree, his sharp eyes watching for any sign of danger. Daniel, the red fox, silently plodded through the underbrush, his tail swishing, which helps with balance. Katie, the pileated woodpecker, hammered away at the trunk of an ancient maple tree with her strong beak. Ethan, the American black bear, is one of the most vital creatures in the forest. As an omnivore, he uses his great sense of smell to eat and disperse seeds through his droppings, including maple trees, azaleas, and other vegetation. He's a keystone species, as he regulates the populations of the other animals. Without him, the population growth would be out of control, and the forest's resources would be depleted. Al the raccoon, though very much smaller, also plays a very important role. Raccoons help control the insect populations and disperse seeds when they consume fruits, which helps grow more plants in the forest. He uses his well-developed senses of hearing and vision to survive. Another important highlight that keeps the forest running is the key symbiotic relationships. For example, the mutualistic relationship between the flying squirrels and the trees helps both the species involved. The squirrels rely on the maple trees for food, consuming their nuts, leaching them off, and in return, the squirrels help disperse new trees, allowing the trees to grow. Every night, animals gathered around the old maple tree Bob and his family. Bob was the heart of the entire deciduous forest, as almost every animal depended on him for food and shelter. He hosted many different plants, such as moss and lichens, and also provided shade to azaleas and poison ivy. These plants rely on his canopy to regulate temperature and moisture. Without him, direct sunlight would dry out the soil and kill many plants, meaning that life in the forest would be almost impossible. Boom! Just then, a thunderous sound echoed from the woods nearby. "What was that?" Al the raccoon said, standing up from the creek. His fur stood on end. "Something's wrong," Will said, his ears twitching. "Let's check it out." In the dark, the animals crept closer to the sound. They hid behind bushes, peering out of the clearing. And then they saw them, huge monstrous machines with sharp spitting blades. They were cutting down the trees. "No, not the maples," Katie screeched, flying to the nearest tree. She could hear the crunch of the bark splitting and the sounds of the ancient maple falling. "Bob!" Will cried, gliding down to his favorite tree, but it was too late. The tree had fallen down. "Run!" Daniel barked, but they could only watch as more trees fell after one after the other. The next morning, the animals were stunned by the destruction. Bob the First, Bob the Second, Bob Jr., and Bob Sr., all the mighty maples, were gone. One tree was all that remained. Katie flew to where Bob the First had fallen. "I can't believe it! Where will I live now?" she whispered. Will landed beside her, his stomach growling. "I can't find my food anymore. The moss is gone and the lichen too." "We need to stop them," Daniel growled, his fur bristling with anger. "We can't let them take the rest of the forest." But it was too late. The machines were coming back, bigger than ever. Katie swooped in, her beak sharp and strong. She attacked the machine's control panel, pecking it with all her might. Al pulled at the wires dangling from the machine, trying to sabotage it, his dexterous hands working fast. Another crash shook the ground as a huge tree fell. Will's heart sank and Bob the Second was gone. "No, not another tree," Will cried. The animals gathered, their eyes filled with determination. They raced to the edge of the big machine. Will gathered his courage and got ready to take mighty flight. He soars into the sky with his gliders and throws his precious nuts at the machine, hoping to stall it in any way. With a mighty roar, Ethan the American black bear charged from the shadows. He rammed into the machine, his powerful paws slamming its metal frame. The machine fell over. The forest fell silent. Without the trees, Katie couldn't find a home. Will couldn't find food. Al had no shelter. Even David and Ethan had nowhere to hide. "We tried," Will said, looking around at the destroyed land, "but it's too late." One by one, the animals left. Katie flew to a distant forest. Daniel wandered into the hills. Al lumbered off into the shadows, and Will disappeared into the woods, his heart heavy. Ethan looked back to the clearing. The forest was silent. Ethan looked sadly at the barren forest surrounding him. What was once filled with life and joy felt sad and empty. Without the moss, who would control the flow of water? Without the poison ivy, who would serve as a food source of the birds and insects? Without the azaleas, who would help improve the air quality? Without the lichens, who would help soil production? Without the maple trees, who would provide seeds and canopy to protect the plants and animals? The once nutrient-rich soil of the deciduous forest is now barren, as the deforestation exposed the soil to erosion and reduced its ability to retain moisture. Years passed. The forest was still and the land lay quiet, but deep beneath the ground, the roots of the old maples still clung to the earth. The rain would come, and new trees would grow one day. And when the wind blew through the new leaves, it would carry the memory of the forest that had been, and the animals that fought to save it. The forest would rise again, but until then, there would only be the soft whisper of the leaves, and the promise that someday the forest would return. The end. This is our About the Authors. First, we have Naheun, who's an environmental children's book writer. When she's not writing books, she likes to ride her bicycle and take a walk outside. She's always been interested in preserving the internet's environment since a child. In the future, she wants to travel around the world and live in Paris. Next is Danny. He's also an environmental children's book writer. When he's not writing books, he enjoys spending his time with friends, eating out, and sleeping a lot. He enjoys being in nature and hopes to spread awareness of what is happening to our environment. And lastly is Ruchir, an environmental children's book author. Along with writing, he enjoys playing pickleball and spending time with friends. He has always been interested in the environment, and in the future he wants to spread more awareness about what is happening to our forests.